bangin amin didili kando onu yali kandaan antu sambam orang dan sambam orang sindigo ordaran ondengo ordaran akan tenron ungan sarun ro.
Tribal India presents a colorful panorama of art, customs, religious faiths and practices, which is the manifestation of adjustments with its cultural and ecological conditions. In tribal religion, magic is the predominant element. It conceives of man as passing through life surrounded by ghostly company of powers and elements, mostly impersonal in character. Some of these are regarded as presiding forces over the various aspects of life, each force having its own sphere of influence. Thus, there may be a spirit presiding over various diseases, spirits concerned with harvest and fertility, spirits dwelling in rocks, rivers, waterfalls, and so on. These are diligently propitiated to ward off the dangers associated with their influence. Spirits dwell everywhere, and men have to be at peace with them to enjoy freedom from illness and lead a prosperous life. If anybody falls ill, the general belief is that some relationship has been violated. To deal with these terrible forces, there are medicine men who intercede with the supernatural world on behalf of their tribal communities, placating and honoring the deities with food and drink. Motive of religion or magic has directed and inspired a profound creative activity in tribal art. It functions as a means of reverence and worship and as a living medium of invocation. In tribal art, the distinction which is usually drawn between the sacred and the secular by more sophisticated people ceases to exist, and both art and religion tend to fuse with each other into a unified whole. A very interesting way in which religion has influenced tribal art is to be found in the remarkable wall paintings made by the Sauras. The Sauras are one of the primitive and most colorful among the major tribes of Orissa. Although they dwell in small numbers in all parts of the state, they are concentrated mainly along the banks of river Bansadhara and in the hilly areas of Koraput, Raigad, Phulbani, Gunpur, Ganjam and Gajapati districts of South Orissa. The Sauras have racial affinity with the Proto-Australoids and hold linguistic affinity with the South Munda division of the Austric language family. The Soura villages are generally small. On an average, a village may have 30 to 40 houses. Economically as well as educationally, they are very backward. They are primarily agriculturists. Besides cultivating fields, the Sauras also rear chicken, pigs, and cattle. Each village has a presiding deity and at times two deities. They are represented through impressive carved wooden totem poles called Babu Devtas, which supposedly protect the village from evil spirits, diseases, and epidemics. Most villages have weekly haats where the tribals procure the essential household goods as well as other items like colors, ornaments, and clothes. Even the barter system prevails in these haats. The haat also provides the means of interaction with other communities and cultural activities. The Sauras hold strong beliefs in the power of the unseen world, peopled by gods, ghosts, and the spirits of their ancestors. These unseen beings are continually interfering in human life, and it is necessary, therefore, to keep them happy and contented by an elaborate system of sacrifices and by actions calculated to please them. Among such actions is the custom of making paintings on the walls of houses. Paintings or icons are drawn to flatter and please the gods and ancestors so that they may spare the members of the household from their individual attentions. It is done to pander to the egotism of a particular god or ancestor and to remind him of the magnificence of his life in the unseen world as conceived by the Sauras. His many wives, his pets, the spaciousness of his house, the retinue of his attendants, the wealth of his agricultural possessions, and so on. The inspiration for the composition of the icon may arise from the desire to honor those who have died recently, to commemorate the celebration of a certain festival or an important religious ceremony, or from a need to cure an illness. Suspended from the rafters and arranged breadthwise over the icon is a bamboo on which baskets of grains and pots containing palm wine for the deities and ancestors are hung. When a wall painting or italam is to be made, the householder may either paint it himself, following the inspiration of his dreams, or he may send for the medicine men, come priests, who are credited to be adept in communicating with the supernatural world. Mostly, the village shaman, Kudam, Kudamboy, Bejun or Bejune are considered to be the religious experts and intermediaries between the world of the living and the world of the spirits.
आमे जाऊँ जे आमर भल पाई आमर देह मुंड कौन सुविधा हेले आमे पूर्व पुरुषरू लागिवा सिगिवा बोली आमे गोटे बेजुणी बुढ़ी पाखरे से घर को जाई पहुँचुचु हेले सी आसिले आमर पूजा विधि से चलन कर देबो.
The two worlds are not isolated but together form an interactive social world. In a state of trance, these intermediaries can enter the nether world where their souls leave their bodies. Now the spirit can use their bodies as a channel of communication to speak to the living in the world.
Kanten roon ungan sarun roon ungan newangiin amben jojongin amben anako tam naimba bajatam naimba rotan jiin naimba rotan laang naimbaan asinger tonon kandodo tonan nyamai ba jali indo jai ba jalin ana singo indo onamengo indo dedele kando onuyale kandan.
The ritualistic spaces in the paintings serve as temporary dwellings or rest houses for the spirits in the living world. It is believed that a spirit sits in the picture just as a fly settles on a wall. The strong beliefs of the Sauras prohibit them to invoke the spirits without a genuine cause, lest the spirit should get disturbed and angry.
Thank you, Linden, Epuranden, Yuyunyenji Gulanden, and yen itina sangudik telenji, Purti, do Durti, itinagan ruding gudik tingi, Gamangam lenyen, dong yena mir tingi.
To begin with, the wall on which a painting is to be drawn is washed with fresh red earth and water to provide a good background. The painter uses a twig slightly splayed at the end. For paint, he uses rice flour and water mixed in a small bowl, or sometimes ash and water. At times, he gives emphasis to his figures with a lamp black, red ochre, or indigo blue. The principles underlying the designs involving repetitions, sequences, rhythm and balance are followed through with unrelenting determination. The ornamentation practiced by the Sauras is as remarkable for its boldness as it is for its technical excellence. Straight lines and curves are well combined. Lines are drawn with precision, showing not only control of the tool used, but also betraying variations natural to the use of hand. The painted decorations have a vitality, and each design seems to breathe an energy of its own. The articles are symbols and specially designed to please the spirit. So everything that can serve this purpose is included. The painter is direct, simple, and sincere, and does not aim at any special effects. The paintings are done with freehand, and the subject matter determines the style. When the artist has finished the initial drawing, he sends for the intermediary, who at once proceeds to add new elements as per the dictates of the invoked spirit. He offers rice and wine before the icon and calls on the spirit for whom it has been prepared to come and inspect it. Though the styles do vary from region to region, there are certain general similarities. The paintings depict an extremely harmonious combination of virtuality with abstract suggestion. Normally, the pictures are of conventional items. Some modern objects like trains, cars, aeroplanes are now being introduced. Tuileries are made more elaborate because of the need to flatter. Human figures, animals and birds are depicted stylistically with a lot of care bestowed on little details like the quills of a peacock's tail. Houses and mountains are symbolically depicted in geometrical patterns of great variety. Human figures may strike an intermediate mean, for they are comparatively realistic in silhouette. Dancing is suggestive rather than realistic. Figures are painted in rows with feathers in their hair, holding drums and trumpets, or with hands raised above their heads. Gender differentiation of the figures can only be made by their occupational activities. Unlike the more primitive Langia Sauras of the hills, who consider painting sacred, the Sauras of the plains are more open, and painting is like any other ordinary activity for them. The art is not just restricted to the directions of the intermediaries, but is open to the artistic imagination of the people as such. There has been a transition from the primitive, ritualistic and sacred purpose to a more contemporary lifestyle without losing the benevolence of spiritual belief. These paintings now not only serve for ritualistic purpose, but also for wall decorations. The artist is free to interpret the life cycle, the surroundings, and the concept of devotion to the spirit in the way he perceives. He draws freely, in peace and happiness. The artist is truly unself-conscious and is not ashamed of what might be regarded by others as crude. He remains true to the impression which an object has produced upon him and tries to reproduce it faithfully. The artist may be untutored, but he is not uninitiated. In a unique singular case as observed in village Marichaguda, the advent of literacy and education has resulted in a changeover from ritualistic painting with all its attendant practices like animal sacrifice, invocation to the spirits of the ancestors, to a reformist mode of defying the 25 alphabets of the Soura script, the Soura Sompain. Each of the 25 alphabets represents a deity of great mythological and cultural significance, thereby encouraging and compelling people to move out of the blind faith and superstition to educative awakening.